Hey there, John Opinion Sports. Like the video, subscribe if you're new. Making this video because we got a new GM head coach coming in. And with that, a complete mystery of what's going to happen with the roster. So it could head to the roster getting gutted, at least to whatever extent it can be. There's a few good sized contracts that ain't going nowhere here. Or the new GM can build on what's already here. The latter is what I prefer. But GM might want to take some pressure off the new head coach and move serious pieces that allow us to compete next year. So I'll give you a two-sided opinion on these guys. That way I don't have to make a part 2 once the GM comes in and starts making moves. I'll start with the premise that the new GM will come in and gut the roster. Mostly because it's probably the quicker take. And some of my takes might actually surprise you if you've been following my channel for a while. So I'll start with Saquon. If there's a reset, I'm looking to trade Saquon. And believe me, that hurts for me to say. I love Saquon. And he was such a beast his first 2 seasons, especially his rookie year. If you can get a second or a third round pick for him, I'm taking it. Also, if you have no plans on forking out a big contract for Saquon, move him now. I don't want another Leonard Williams situation here, because if Saquon has another season like his rookie year, he's going to want top dollar. And I don't want to have to go down the road of franchise tagging him for 2 years like Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh in that whole situation. He's cheap next season, but the franchise tag just puts such a huge chunk of money. And on a rebuilding team, it just don't make sense to me. So, honestly, if it's a rebuild, I don't want nothing interfering with it. I want this team to I just want things to be done the right way in whatever direction they go. That's all I ask. Now, if the team's trying to win and going forward, I'd be cool with him staying and getting paid. You can structure a running back's contract to where it won't kill you, and a healthy, confident player like Saquon on a winning team really does give you a huge advantage, especially in the playoffs, like where it's harder to throw. And listen, you're in the playoffs, you're going to be playing some of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL. When you have a running back like Saquon, it helps to kill the clock. There's also one little side scenario I'll throw in here. So here's another scenario. Giants try to win next season, but they're awful. In that situation, I'd want them to move on. You're going to get a late third-round pick the following year anyways through the compensation stuff. If you're rebuilding, just take the pick right now. Just to jumpstart the rebuild, and you got more cap to sign a future piece with. So to me, it's simple either way, but massively complicated at the moment with all the questions. And I think it's way simpler than the decisions the Giants are going to have to make with Daniel Jones. Running backs are a lot easier to get in the building than quality quarterbacks. And the questions that I have about Saquon right now, we should have had an answer on Jones after this season, or at least had a pretty damn good idea. This offensive line and archaic system has been so god-awful, we're still in the same place we were 3 years ago. And if we're completely rebuilding, I don't see the sense in bringing back Daniel Jones for a few reasons. None of them because of him. Number one, we'll be at the same place we were after this season. The team won't be good enough to get a proper evaluation. And 2, even if Jones is good, now you dole out a huge paycheck to him and hamper the rebuild. The Giants and Daniel Jones window won't match, basically. And if he comes in and he balls and the team is winning, we got our guy. You pay him and cool. We have to start hitting more in a draft instead of free agency so much. That was the problem we had with Jerry Reese. Once all the big time players got paid, now you don't have the money to go around free agency. Now them draft picks become way more important. You can't miss on some of them, especially your early round picks. So listen, I don't want to start over and rebuild. I think there's a decent roster right now, and I think if we hit on our picks, I think you can sign a couple players on free agency. I really think we're going to have a little bit of cap to play with. I think we could field a halfway decent team next year, and especially if we make the right hire at the head coach and offensive coordinator. It would make such a world of difference if we get a real good, successful system in here. Because here's why I don't want to go through another rebuild like we had the last 3 years. I don't trust the owner to stay patient through. That's pretty much pure and simple. He caves to the mob. We go the rebuild route after 2 years and the team isn't winning still. The fan base will bug out and Mara will buckle. And that is a realization I've come to this year. I can't prove it, because if I could prove it, I would just stop being a fan, because that's ridiculous. But if you go back and look at the last few coaches that we've fired in such a short spans, it makes perfect sense if you look at it through that lens. So if we're going to do a full rebuild, Just clean slate, move on from these guys, bring in a bridge quarterback for Daniel Jones. And I think I've heard people say maybe you get a third or fourth round pick for Daniel Jones. I think that's absurd. I think you can get a comparable trade package that the Jets got for Sam Darnold. I'm sorry. There was never a point where Sam Darnold was even close to as good as Daniel Jones. Ultimately, I'd love for both them guys to come back. We field a good team next year. We win. We're a good team for next year and going forward, and you pay them. I mean, ultimately, that's what I'd like to see happen. Will it happen? I don't know. All them questions are yet to be answered. Anyways, that's it for me. Like it up. The only reason I ask is because if you're like me, I constantly forget. The only time I like videos is when people ask me to do it. So, that's it. Peace.